Hey everyone, welcome to the December 15th, 2021 Whitaker Community Council Board of Directors meeting. My name's Ian and I'm the chair, and we're really lucky to have some fantastic presenters tonight. The Board of Directors meeting is open to the public, so anyone can comment during the public comment period, and then we're going to have board discussion and board business for the rest of the meeting tonight. In just a little bit, we're going to explain the process to voice your interest in commenting tonight. But before I do that, I wanted to pass it over to our Vice Chair, Gail, to explain a little bit about some of the technical pieces to Zoom so you can voice your interest in participation. Gail?
Thank you, Ian. Welcome, everybody. Most of you know the basics of how to run a Zoom by now. We've had a long period of practice. But for those of you who want to make sure that you have your settings optimized, if you're on a computer or a laptop, there may be a button up in the corner on that corner of the screen that says original sound off. If you go ahead and push that button, that'll optimize the microphone on your device so that it picks up your voice outside of other extraneous noise that might be in the room, and it just makes it easier for us to understand you. In addition, I'll just remind everybody, I love seeing everybody having their microphones muted right now. You're responsible for your own mic, so make sure you keep it muted except when you're recognized to speak, and I think that's just about everything. So thanks for being here tonight, and I look forward to a lively discussion.
Sweet, thanks, Gail. And also, Gail's awesome to do this bit because she's living her life. She has her favorite radio program on in the background, and that's a feature, not a bug. If you're eating food, listening to music, that's called living life, and you're choosing to spend 2 hours of your evening with us right now, so we do not want to get in the way of you nomming on dinner or, yeah, just jamming out and really enjoying yourself. So with that, I wanted to transition on to the ways you can voice your interest in participating tonight. There's 4 different ways. The first is by raising your physical hand. If you have your Zoom screen on, like Gail's doing right now, shooting up your hand is going to be a chance for me to see that you have an interest in participating and is going to be my signal to add you to the queue to speak. The second way you can voice your interest is by using the raise hand function in Zoom, just like Stephen and Gail and myself are doing. You can do that through the reactions function and then raise or lower your hand. And so that's going to be another way for me to have a signal that you have an interest in participating. If anyone's calling over the phone, you can say your name. I will pick on Drea tonight. So if Drea was on the phone and said, Drea, that would be my signal that they have an interest in participating and want to be able to be in the queue to speak. And so the last way and the best way is by using the Zoom chat function. And this looks different for everyone's platform that they're using, whether it's an iPad or a computer or their phone. But I'll pick on Dan because Dan's one of my favorites to pick on. And if Dan said that he wanted to jump into the queue, I would say that Dan's in the queue, but wouldn't you know it, Dan isn't as fast as he think he is, and actually Gail beat him to the punch. So in this hypothetical, I always put the speaking queue order no matter how you voice your interest in participating. And so I'm gonna announce who's up next and who's on deck. In this hypothetical, Gail would be up next and then Dan would be on deck. So I just wanted to run through those things really quick before we jump into public comment. But before I do that, I wanted to share just a little bit about what the Community Council is and what we do. So I'm sharing the screen. Can you all see a white screen that says Whitaker Community Council real big? Perfect. So who are we? Well, we're your neighbors. So the Whitaker Community Council has existed since 1974, and we do double duty. We're both a neighborhood association recognized by the city of Eugene, which advocates for our community and partners with the city on projects. And we're also a nonprofit organization, which is a fancy way of saying we've got a designation by the IRS that makes it so we don't pay taxes because we're working for the community good. What community good are we working for? Well, we're working for the good of the Whitaker community. And some of the ways that we work together are shown in this picture: board members past and present in front of a bus, that we have advertising to prevent the spread and infection of COVID-19, featuring 2 of our own, Gloria and Akon from Equiano Coffee. So what can we do? Well, we help each other out. Whether it's our COVID wellness clinics, we also provide hand sanitizer free of charge to local businesses. We've gone out and given food and hydration supplies to some of our unhoused neighbors when they've been most in need. And we also put on monthly art walks from April to about December. Our next one's coming up at the end of this year. And we've provided small stipends to community members who are either performing or visual artists to do their thing during our art walks. And this is only a smattering, just some examples of the cool stuff we do in the community. And how do we do it? Well, we do it through our committees. We have a public health and safety committee that actually just met before this meeting. We have a social justice committee that's being led by Angie. Anand leads our public health and safety work. Our Whitaker community art team meets weekly on Mondays from 6:30 to 7:30. And we also have a transportation committee that was co-founded by Dan, who's here tonight, and then Andrew and Claire Roth, who I don't think are here. Do you want to be a part of this? Then get involved. There's loads of ways to be involved, including showing up to some of our board meetings, by joining our board meetings and our general meetings. You have the agency to tell your board what you want to see. And then during our board meetings, we have discussion and opportunities for potential motions and votes so we can make decisions on behalf of the neighborhood. Tonight, I wanted to walk through our agenda. We might have board members join us a little bit later, but tonight we're going to jump into public comment next. And then we're going to have updates from 4 of our contractors that are currently working with us on an array of projects. And then after that, we're going to jump into some information on our grants. We're going to have time for motions and discussions then. And then we're going to be talking about our potential hiring committee, which is building off of another presentation we had during a board meeting in October, before we pass it on to 2 of our board members, Jen, who's an at-large board member, and Delinia, who's our treasurer, regarding our ad hoc committee for our charter. And so that leads us into what's next, which is our public comment period. And I just got a message from someone around including ways to voice your participation at the beginning of our meetings. And so what I wanted to share before we get started is that sometimes people can get long-winded, like I'm being right now. And what I should let everyone know is that our time is limited. So make sure to keep your questions, to keep it short and sweet. And if people, like I just did, got a little long-winded, call me out. Raise your hands, give like fox ears or something like that. And that's the way that we're going to keep each other accountable. So I also noticed that I'm breaking up and that you're missing parts of my audio. And so that's a problem with my internet connection, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to switch it over to a different internet connection while we're talking. But I already see that Stephen and Sirsha are interested in talking. So Stephen, I will pass it on to you for the first part of public comment, and then Sirsha, I will pass it on to you next. Stephen?
Thank you, Ian. I wanted just to report that the evaluation committee met this afternoon to review the Polk 2 proposal on North Polk for housing. They were also evaluating another project on Highway 99. The Whitaker Community Council was very ably represented by Daniel Schmidt, and I can either give you a little bit more of maybe like a 1-minute report, or you could ask Daniel for that report. Either way, but it was a good afternoon and it went well.
Thanks, Stephen, and thanks, Dan. Yeah, I don't know if you have a quick update following that, anything you want to share with the board.
Are you asking me and you're breaking up again?
Yep, and so I'm going to change my internet over right now, but I just wanted to check in with you, Dan, and see if you had any updates for the board.
Just a little bit. There's some stuff that they didn't actually cover in the meeting that Stephen attended. And those were the questions that I brought up via email to the people who administrate the group. And they really have to do with safety, security, transportation, visitation, and things like that, specifically just for the Polk 2.0 property. And I think rather than getting long-winded, if anybody has any questions, they can get a hold of me via email or my phone. You can message me here in the chat if you have any questions about the stuff that I brought up, but otherwise it's a really cool proposal. So I think it's going to be great for the neighborhood.
Sweet. Stephen, did you have another comment, or is your hand up from when you spoke last time?
I wasn't privy to the email exchange, so I had no comment on that, but the scoring was out of 180, and Polk 2 scored 171 out of 180. The other project, a Homes for Good project, scored 168 out of 180. It goes to the City Council on January 10th or the 24th, and then back to the Housing Agency on February 10th. So there's a couple more hurdles for it to go through, but so far it had a good boost from today's meeting. So thanks, Dan.
Great. Yeah, thanks for that update. Saoirse, you're up next.
Thank you so much, Ian, and hello, everyone. My name is Saoirse. It might look a little bit tricky spelled out here, but it is a little bit easier to say than it looks. And I am super happy to be here this evening. I just wanted to introduce myself. I am going to be the new market director of the Whitaker Community Market. And so I'm super excited to be joining the market and learning from everyone there. A little bit about me, I live in the Whitaker. So this is my home and a space that I'm really invested in. And the market was really one of the first spaces that made it feel that way and made Eugene feel like a home to me. I grew up in rural North Carolina, so Eugene is one of the largest places I've lived, and the Whitaker market made it feel like that kind of small, homey community environment that I really cherished about small towns and missed. And so I'm really excited to continue the really incredible work that Claire and the rest of the team with the market has been doing and maintaining a really strong relationship with the community and the Whitaker Community Council. And I'm excited on about how we can continue to make the market a space for everyone and really focusing on how we can make those things true. And so make sure that it's true that kids have a space at the market and have engaging and cool things to do, and elderly folks and people of every ability, and really that it's a space for everyone and available, and yeah, a positive space for everyone. I am really excited to get to know everyone here. And if you have any questions for me or would like to, reach out to the market, I really encourage you to reach out, and I'm happy to get to know you and live in this community. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Saoirse. Just wondering if anyone has any follow-up comments for Saoirse right now, or looks like Claire threw in Saoirse's same but new email address, whitakermarket@gmail.com. Fantastic. Great. Well, I wanted to share what's coming up next. Right now, we have 4 fast and furious contractors that are going to be going in quick succession after one another. So we're going to have 5 minutes for our fantastic contract bookkeeper extraordinaire, Andrea Garcia, goes by Drea. Then we're moving on to our graphic designer, Emma Jones. Claire, who's serving as our current social media manager contractor, is coming up third. And then last but certainly not least, Doriandra, our program coordinator, who's on contract, is coming next. So right now I've just shared with everyone the capacity to share multiple screens. So if y'all have any presentations, you can do so. I'll just remind contractors that you have 5 minutes or less to do your presentation. And then board members, I'm going to keep you on task with really short, direct questions. And just wanted to remind folks that if any of us get a little bit too long in what we're saying, just raise your little fingers and that'll be a signal to cut them off. And so with that, I will pass it on to Drea. Drea, it's all yours.
If I could figure out how to unmute myself, that would be good. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to see you all again. I did email, I don't know did we send that out, Dee? I did email all of the fun accounting information that everybody loves getting, I'm sure, and goes over, a fine tooth comb. So I'm going to share the screen and go over a couple things. Nothing too exciting. I'm trying to, I wasn't as prepared as I thought I was going to be. Sorry, my 5 minutes is going to go up fast. I can't find the. So while I'm looking for this, I can talk a little bit about all of the things that we've been doing. We're pretty much ready to go for any growth that needs to happen. All the books are in order. We have a little bit more of just kind of recategorizing things and making sure all the grants and funding that we've received is put in place. But at this point, we're ready to get going on having a budget in place that, we're ready to do some payroll. We can, really the reports that we can pull up are going to be really important and ready for grant writing, project funding. We're ready to start, could start diving into getting some donations or fundraising and being able to keep track of everything. So everything at this point is set and ready to go as a nonprofit organization, not just a community, organization, but a nonprofit organization. So we're set and ready. So that feels really good. And it was really fun to do and work with mostly Dee and Ian. I've kind of worked with the most, but I'm super excited. It's been great to see the organization, move forward, and with all the funding and the stuff that you guys all do for the community is amazing. So I was pretty happy to get that set in place. I did send out some reports for you guys to look at if you wanted to, and I can email them to you. Some of the reports, this one right here, I thought was pretty good. Can you guys see this? Or did I not share the right screen? Of course I didn't share the right screen. Okay. All right, can you see that? Okay. Okay, so this one right here is kind of, I thought was cool when I pulled it up this morning. It kind of is showing our fiscal quarterly information from where we're at.
Zoom in.
I'm sorry, what?
Could you zoom in on for the old?
Oh, I can. How's that? Better? Is that good? Let me move you guys over here. So this is kind of just I pulled everything up because we run on a fiscal year, not a tax year. And so this is, I kind of broke it up into a couple quarters, and this is our current year. And this is last year, 2020. And just, I thought it was pretty neat. If you look right here, you can see what we, our income for this current year comparable to the income from last year, which is a pretty, it's pretty large increase. And that was from July to September, and then October, we did current October and then last year. So I thought that was pretty neat, just kind of looking at what our, of course, our funding and our expenses have gone up quite a lot, but our expenses last year were 2,000 compared to 46, but the income that's come in is pretty phenomenal. And then I pulled up this guy over here.
You've got about 30 seconds
Oh,
left.
shoot.
Rhea.
Dang, that went fast. Okay, well, there we go. Sorry. If anybody needs, finance is a long-winded, conversation. So if anybody would like me to, or have Ian or Dee send those reports to you guys, and anybody's always welcome to contact me, and if they want to have bigger conversations about the finance stuff. So is there anything you wanted me to jump on really quick, Dee or Ian?
I think you covered it. You did email it to all of us, so we'll just
Okay.
look at it at our leisure. I kind of already know them, but
The one thing I was wondering if you could do, Drea, other than press stop sharing, if you could, and thanks so much for your presentation, is just share with the board where we were when you and Delinea started and where we are now. Because I mean, it's like a night and day difference where you've not only taken the board, but taken the whole organization.
Well, where we were was some checkbooks. We had some checkbooks to look at. you know, and that's kind of where we went off of, and the bank accounts. You know, what we did is we just started downloading all the transactions in the bank, and then we went through all the checkbooks and started putting everything in, and kind of had to go through some information in boxes and papers and try to find everything. Now, you know, so it's a huge difference than where we're at now, ready to, you know, do all business. So, yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you so much. Like I equate what you and Delinia have been doing is kind of like that first scene from Indiana Jones, like placing that sand, you know, like dodging giant boulders, but making it happen.
Yeah.
Like, imagine building a car and we barely had any instructions, and now we're just getting ready to put the key in the ignition.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a comment from Gail in the chat saying thanks so much for all your hard work on this and that your transparency is great. She's reminding us that Delinia is the board voted point of contact for you. So anyone from the board, please direct your questions to Delinia, and then Delinia will send them to Drea. So that's a great reminder. Thank you so much for that, Gail. She's doing this to keep you from being inundated from questions from all of us. So cool. That sounds awesome. Does anyone have any additional questions for Drea tonight? We've got about 2 minutes left, and if not, feel free to email questions to Delinia. Sweet. Well, it sounds like you are off the hook for now. Drea, thank you so much for everything that you've done. You're certainly more than welcome to stay for the rest of the presentations and the rest of the news tonight. We've got some tremendous news that I think I've shared with you just about how where you've taken us. But yeah, just wanted to say thanks again. And folks,
question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Andrew had a question.
I'm so sorry, Andrew.
No, it's fine. I put it in the chat. It was just asking if I think I heard you say you did a lot of work to put this into like software that makes us probably legally compliant with things. So I'm wondering if all of the reports are automated, and if they are, could we just get like a quarterly report or something attached to the board meetings? Just I like to read that. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a whole presentation. I just like to read that stuff periodically so I know what's going on and what our position is.
Right.
So if that's possible, I would love to do that.
Yeah, yeah, we're doing a month-end close. You pretty much have to, you know, we're doing the like general accounting practices, doing month-end closing, and then any reports that you need for any reason, whether it be for grant writing or, you know, payroll taxes, quarterlies, whatever it is, I can pull it up pretty quickly. And Dee can too. We've been working through QuickBooks, and she can always get a hold of me. But I definitely want to always I sent out a bunch of reports today to kind of show you what the report will look like when you guys have board meetings, so that you can go over the profit and loss and the balance sheet and cash flow and what's owed and not owed.
Cool, thank you.
That's going to depend a lot to how we as a board want to see like what we're giving as far as the information. So that's kind of our next step, where we're gonna, you know, is it going to be quarterly, monthly, how, you know. But yeah, the reports are pretty easy to get once everything's in there.
Thanks so much. Great. Yeah, Jen, I see your hand, but if you could email it to Delinia, because we're out of time and we got to move to our next presenter. We might have time at the end that we can go back to if we don't run out of time for this. So up next is Emma with graphic design. Emma, it's on to you.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? Can you hear me okay? Is there a confirm of that? Okay, I can see faces, so that's good. Let me just put this into presentation mode. Oh, hold on one sec. I gotta share screen. And here we go. Okay, this should be good. View, enter full screen. Can everyone see that okay? Yep, okay, I see Andrew. Okay, so this is the presentation. We're gonna start with photography. Oh, I just messed up. Can you still hear me? Yes, I can't hear anybody.
We can see you and hear you.
Okay, perfect. So photography, over the last period of the contract, I've coordinated and photographed 11 board members for the new website. Photographed 18 plus businesses in the Whitaker over 2 months to be featured in the business directory and for SEO, which is search engine optimization on the new website. It basically helps the website be more accessible to everyone in the community and elsewhere. Coordinated and photographed 17 plus individuals and families in the Whitaker neighborhood, 10 of them this contract. This was to represent the diversity of the neighborhood and includes the following: renters, couples, families, children, unhoused, students, Latinx, LGBTQ, BIPOC, disabled, and seniors. We photographed 4 clinics in 2021 to build a stock portfolio for the Whitaker Community Council to use throughout all of the wellness clinics as needed. We've also photographed the neighborhood on multiple occasions to create a stock portfolio for the WCC. So this is like landscape photography to use indefinitely for content and promotion. So far, the photos have been used on every page of the website and for social media. We've also coordinated and photographed 4 artists in the neighborhood for the artist directory on the website, and for Dubcat content, we have 5 artists scheduled for this weekend. So I'm just doing one after the other after the other. The result by the end of this contract will be a Dropbox folder containing about 200 images of the Whitaker neighborhood and its members for WCC use indefinitely. As of now, the photos have been used in social media content throughout the website and flyers, Eugene Weekly ads, on billboards, and more. Okay, so let's see if I can. This is some of the photography that we have. It won't let me. And here's some more photographs that go into the stock imagery pile. So graphic design. We've done a brand guide. Developing a brand guide for the WCC to use throughout all advertising now and in the future. For those of you who don't know, a brand guide is a user's manual on how an organization or a business communicates through advertising to an audience. Cohesive branding is vital for organizations like the WCC to be recognized by foundations, funders, and volunteers. It also brings together campaigns to support our messaging as a whole. Wellness clinic flyers, designed 2 flyers for each clinic since the beginning of the clinics. This contract, I've designed about 8 different flyers. The Dubcat flyers, I've created 2 so far, including the 20 is plenty and the vaccine confidence signage campaign. Eugene Weekly ads, we've designed 10 half-page ads using the photographs from before. And they will run throughout the duration of the Eugene Weekly contract. The intention is to have 15 ads done. 10 clinic signs, we created a various selection of signs with Doriandra to help with the flow and efficiency of the wellness clinics. We've done 12 billboards, which was quite a feat, in under a week for Outfront Media, which are now present throughout Eugene, Springfield, and Junction City. We chose to use QR code presence intentionally so we can track the analytics and simplify the sign-up process for vaccinations. We've done 3 Dubcat maps, updated information ads, and added new locations to the art directory maps for each Last Friday Art Walk from October through December. And then through my work, the WCC has successfully launched 2 public health campaigns using a cohesive brand strategy. We promoted the wellness clinics to their fullest potential and made accessing vaccines as easy and as comfortable as possible. And then one more time, this is one of the billboards that went up. There's a little bit of like calibration issues, so the colors are different in reality. And then this is another one. You guys can still see everything okay?
Yep, and you've got about 30 seconds left. Perfect.
Protected together. Okay, and so this was one more thing that I want everyone to know. We all do so much work behind the scenes, and website, we did some extra stuff that was volunteer between Grace, Joe, Annika, Aaron, Moore, Kaylee at Brent Joe Studio. We did a ton of different like design assistants, sourcing domain login information took about 2 weeks, communicating with 7 different people back and forth, and it was insane. It was just insane, but were able to, in the end, get the domain crossed over so we could launch the website at the same time as our campaigns. Joe and her designers, Kaylee and Grace, both spent hours beyond the contract to help in this process. And Angie, of course, did a ton. Annika helped me just immensely. Ian, Doriandra, we've all just worked really hard to get this launched in line with the campaign. Okay, where's timing?
We're out of time. Boom, done. Looks like we've got a first question from Delinia, and thanks so much for that awesome presentation.
Yeah.
Delinia, you are up. And then if anyone else wants to jump in the queue, please let me know and I'll pop you in. Delinia?
Mine's not a question. I just wanted to say thank you to Emma and Joe and everybody who really worked on this hard. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, and I'm sure you had your own car to build. Thank you.
Thanks, Delaney. I appreciate that.
Stephen, you are muted, my friend.
I put a question in the chat.
Stephen, your question went to me directly rather than to everyone. So if you would repeat it,
Oh.
that would be good.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that we have formal legal releases from the subjects of all the images to use their images in our materials.
Yes, we have verbal contracts, which has been clarified.
A verbal contract is sufficient?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, everyone can be contacted and we have all of their contact information.
great, thank you.
Of course.
We have a question from Margaret. Is there a list of where the billboards are located? List, not lost.
Yes, there is. I am probably going to compile it because I want to do a drive around and see them all. So when I do, I can send that to anyone who'd like to also do a drive around.
Great. We've got Thea up next. Thea?
I know my husband and I are on 99, and it's actually the picture where he has his arms around me. So I'm told him there's proof that you really do love me and put up with me. So thank you, Emma, for the pictures and all your work.
Thanks, Thea.
Do we have a signed contract from your husband saying that he loves you, Thea? I don't think a verbal contract will be sufficient. Yeah, okay.
I do have that. And when we renewed our vows, he promised to do dishes, and he does.
Wow, huge. Excellent. Well, we've got 1 minute left. Does anyone have another question or comment for Emma before we move on to Claire? All right, well, thanks so much, Emma. Moving on, we've got Claire, who's our contract social media manager. Claire, on to you.
I hit share screen before unmute. Okay, can you see this? So I've been doing social media since the beginning of October, and I'm excited to tell you more about it. And if you haven't seen some of the graphics, to show those to you. So I've kind of been working on 3 main projects. Those include graphic design, social media engagement, and then I've also been spending a lot of my time attending all of the WCC and committee meetings, so that I can stay in touch and kind of accurately communicate to the public all the awesome stuff you all are doing. So here's just a couple of examples of graphic design work that I've done. And so you might be able to tell these are Emma's photos. So I've been working from the Dropbox that Emma has created and been able to use her awesome photos. I've been making posts and graphics about the free wellness clinics, about the ad campaigns like Protected Together and All for One, One for All. And then a lot of the posts are meeting announcements, which include upcoming meeting dates, agendas, and the Zoom links. Let's see. I've been using the brand guide. Emma mentioned that. That's been really great to actually have something to work off of. So that includes colors, fonts, logos, things like that, that just help us really have a cohesive visual presence online with our neighbors. And then of course, Emma, I just love your photography, and I feel like that also has brought a really cohesive voice to our online presence. They're so like warm and glowing, and I think they really portray our neighborhood as this like colorful, vibrant, bold place that we love. So that's been really fun to work with. I've also been coordinating with Emma on the Eugene Weekly and other print ads, and putting those ads out, like this Protected Together one, on social media the same week that the print ads come out, so that we do have this cohesive presence. So someone could open up the Eugene Weekly in one week and see an ad, and in that same week see the same ad online, which I just think is a good idea. I've also been managing the Whitaker Community Arts Team social media account, which we call Dubcat. And so this includes updates and announcements about the last Friday Art Walk, calls to artists, as well as other meeting announcements and agendas. We have a meeting every single Monday, so there's a lot to share about that. And let's see, did I get everything? Yes, so the other big part of what I've been putting my hours to is just general engagement online. So after I create the graphic and post it to social media, then I'll be managing comments, events, messages, as well as inviting people to, like the page so we can engage online more. Yeah, I think that's it. Here's my last slide. Like I said, I've been attending all the meetings, also weekly meetings with Doriandra, so we can just really stay in the loop, especially around the wellness clinics. You probably know information around those changes like every hour. And so to be able to stay in touch about like, okay, we're going to do testing. Oh, we're not doing testing. We are doing gift cards, all those little things that we want to get out to the public. And then if you're on Instagram or Facebook, here's the links for where you can follow us: Whitaker_community_council on Instagram, Whitaker Community Art Team on Instagram, and just Whitaker Community Council on Facebook. So that's it from me.
Sweet. Thanks, Claire. Finished with a minute to spare. Is there anyone that wants to jump in first? Looks like Gail's got her hand up, and then if anyone else wants to raise their hand, Jen's after Gail. So we've got Gail first, and then Jen's on deck. Gail?
Hi, yeah. So I see that you have listed the Whitaker Community Council Facebook page as the place where we've been doing most of the posting. But is that an open page? I'm confused because I believed we were making postings to the Whitaker neighborhood open page. But maybe that's not true. I guess I need a little bit of clarification there.
Sure. Yeah. So Ian added me as an admin during my position time on the page, not the open group. So we'll also add on the open group. So I've been posting to both as the Whitaker Community Council on the page and the Open Neighbors group. Does that answer your question? Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Gail. We've got Jen next. Jen, it's all yours.
Thank you, Claire, for your work. I'm curious. Have you done an original piece of art all your own?
Yeah. Well, I've used mostly Emma's photography as the base and then added text or logos or filters to the photos. But I thought it was important to use Emma's photography since it's so high quality and high resolution. I don't have that kind of, camera equipment. And then it's just really consistent.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic. I have a question of my own. Claire, I don't know if you have it up with you right now, but I'm wondering if you could talk about some of the impact that you've seen in terms of like new follows or the number of likes to your content and kind of the reach of some of the paid content that we have, but also some of the organic content as well.
Yeah, so across the Instagram and Facebook accounts, it looks like in the last 2 months, we've seen 489 new follows. And so that's both on Instagram and Facebook. And I noticed, you know, once we just have someone dedicated who's posting a lot and engaging, we get a lot more followers and engagement. And suddenly people, are seeing that we have a weekly arts meeting or seeing that we have a monthly public health meeting. I know that at least 2 or 3 people have started coming to the WCAT meetings because they saw the post. I'm not sure about the general community meetings, but at least in the WCAT meetings. And then if you want the biggest, most impressive number, impressions, which is just like someone on their phone sees a post, but maybe doesn't really engage with it, they just see it. We've had over 20,000 impressions across the 3 accounts that I've been managing. So that's a lot. I don't know how that happened, but I'll take it.
Thanks, Claire. We've still got 2 more minutes left. Is there anybody who wants to ask other questions? All right. Seems like you're off the hook. Thanks so much, Claire. Really appreciate your presentation.
Thanks, everybody.
And your work too. Know that you're going to be with us for the remainder of your hours in December and January. And my cat wants to get out of the room. So I'm going to pass it on to Doriandra now to be our anchor before I turn off my screen and let the cat in. Doriandra, on to you.
Thanks, Ian. All right, folks, let me share my screen. And let's see. Oh, technology. There we go. Can folks see this? Can you guys see it? Thumbs up. Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma. Okay. Yeah, I want to jump in. I've been with y'all now as your program coordinator since mid-August, and it's been a real honor. Some of my work progress has been coordinating 8 clinics across 3 locations, also streamlining signups and procedures so we have a better flow. During the Delta surge protocol, when Lane County Public Health wished that we would close down, we were able to pivot and implement new protocols that kept our doors open and kept our community coming through. During that time also, we established new vaccine partnership with Whitebird, which has proved highly efficacious and deeply meaningful. We've
And I'd hate to miss any part of this. There you go.
Okay.
Apologize for that. You know what I'll do? This doesn't count to your time. I'm going to make Gail the host now, just in case this happens again. So sorry about that, Doriandra. Sorry about that, everyone.
That's okay. Thanks, Gail, for letting me know what was going on. That's great. So yeah, to that goal, we've proudly reached our, oops, and I'm all over the place here, our 2021 goal of reaching 1,000 community members vaccinated. Yay. So, okay, moving through now, we're going to go to our next slide. A large part of my work now has been negotiating and managing over $90,000 in vaccine confidence advertising contracts. This has been a great project. The billboards that Emma mentioned, I chose very carefully and worked with the company so that we could target other vulnerable populations besides our own. And so we have a reach now between Springfield and Junction City. And there's an interesting metric that helps quantify these sites of how people are seeing these through traffic patterns and whatnot. It's called the OOH pattern. And according to those metrics, these billboards are viewed over 1 million times a week through traffic patterns. Also really excited to do the Eugene Weekly ad contract that is now reaching 28,000 views a week and features Emma's beautiful Protected Together, One for All for One, and the Wellness Clinic ads. It's just lovely to see our community members in print. Also have worked really greatly with KLCC Radio, who are really pleased to be producing their radio spots about the wellness clinics. And as we move into our winter months, we'll also be finding new ways to target impressive projects that the council is doing. So in all those, our vaccine confidence projects will reach about 8,000 listeners a week. These are just some of the great billboards. They're surprising and fabulous to find them as you drive around. Be careful, don't be distracted when you see them. It's pretty fun. Beautiful stuff. Another part of my job has been the Vaccine Confidence Outreach and Engagement Project, which with board selection, I've been able to procure $20,000 in vaccine incentive cards, which are used for in the clinics, and they're from the Whitaker businesses. I've been met with nothing but gratitude and excitement, and the real reach and the impact of what you all do as a council is stunning in this effect. I feel like it's rejuvenated our businesses and created a connectivity that was really important. Also part of this was under the auspice of OHA, Oregon Health Authority. We were able to partner with New Ground Strategies, which is a on the grounds interesting group that really works to create social change. So I was able to work with them to offer historical and demographic insights for the Vaccine Confidence Project that they did in Whitaker, which included finding and hiring paid community ambassadors, which were going door to door and really speaking to folks in our neighborhoods, trying to ascertain where our vaccine hesitance and absolute adverse feelings were coming from. So gathering and working with those folks for the couple of weeks that I did was stunning, because I was able to use some of that data to think tank with Emma and Claire as we created these new advertising goals with the public health campaigns. And I feel like we were able to really target some of the main reasons we were hearing from the New Ground Strategy people as they talked to people. Also, I was just absolutely empowered and grateful to work with the media experts Brink, listening to what we were gathering from data as it was shifting daily about the virus and the pandemic. We were able to create really effective social media campaigns that targeted some of our most vulnerable communities, such as folks that had no immigration status, such like that. And we did a stunning job at reaching those people. Also, part of my exciting artwork has been trying to actualize some of the WCAT project portfolio. One of the great projects is this ongoing issue with the free wall, which I've done a lot of contractor negotiations and logistics with the city of Eugene in terms of their parks and open spaces folks and art management. I feel like we're getting closer to the home stretch, and I hope that we will break ground in March, before March. We're also in the home stretch for the beautiful Call for a Future project, which was the time capsule and ability to speak in. There was a partnership with Word Crafters that I helped navigate. And now we're at the point where we're working with Oakshire to create a final logistical map for the project. I've also been doing the Art Walk coordination of connecting dots for events and helping the volunteers as we create the map production and distribution. And lastly, but fabulously least, is this Vaccine Confidence and 20 is Plenty campaign that we utilize to create a gift, per se, that would be given to folks in our community that were vaccinated and will be vaccinated. And my job in that was really fascinating to help in the compilation of all the artwork that we received in the call to artists, to get our artists contracted, to get them sorted, get the proof ready for printing, and now the production of the signs managed. So today we just picked up 500 of these beautiful pieces of work, and we will be seeing them soon in our beautiful neighborhoods. They're vibrant and sweet, and I think that they really are a beautiful testament to the work you've all have done. The one on the left is my favorite in the Vaccine Confidence campaign. You'll see folks in our neighborhoods completely represented and just like lovely ways. And then the one on the right, of course, is our favorite 20 is Plenty campaign, but there's many more to see. There's 5 in total. So yeah, it's been a fabulous ride. And I start next month working on cohorts for the new grant that Ian has secured with CDC Vaccine Confidence. And I'm absolutely excited to move that forward as we move into new big art through the city. So it's an honor to be of service, and I'm grateful to stay with you for the next 6 months.
Thank you so much, Doriandra. And with that, we'll open it up to everyone and their cats. Please make sure your cat is on screen. Does anyone have any questions for Doriandra? Jen, go right on ahead.
I would say, thank you so much, Doriana. That was a good presentation as well. What would you say that has been the most amazing process that you've done since you've started working with us?
Well, I think just honestly getting to know the dynamics and the passion behind the board and see how all those ideas and care are moved forward into the portfolio of projects I've been assigned to. I think that's been the most exciting. It's like just to know you all exist and have been doing great work has been really exciting to me.
Well, I really appreciate you as well.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thanks so much, Jen. Thea, you are up next.
Miranda, thank you for all the amazing work you've done. You've been an excellent cat herder. We need that in the Whitaker. And I'm hiding my goldfish from all you cat lovers out there. So are you going to need help and volunteers for getting the signs out and moving those? Is that going to go your normal way in how you're getting vaccine clinics is my question.
Sure, great question. Yeah, I have a plan. As both of the signs are part of our gift and to encourage vaccine confidence, and they will have their own specific releases though. The primary one for our vaccine confidence will of course be at our clinics, but I'm trying to organize a secondary event over at Thinking Tree, who were just beyond gracious and did not want to have us pay for anything. But so my hope is that we'll have like a separate 20 is Plenty celebration there in the later part of January, kind of like a board celebration as well. And folks can do a bike ride. And if they bring their vaccination cards, then they get the free 20 is Plenty sign. So yeah, we'll have two separate events, but both signs will always be present at the vaccine clinics as a gift to our community.
Sweet. Well, we have a couple of minutes left. If anyone has any additional questions, either for Doriandra or any other of our contractors. Jen, I remember, okay, Delinia, I see your hand up. Go right on ahead.
I just want to know when I'm getting my 2 signs.
I know, they're so precious. Well, come to the clinic on January 9th. And we're gonna set up our own special little canopy and we'll have them all set up in there and just come on by so we can get you your signs.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you've done and handling all of us and our passion.
Yeah, it's an honor. Thank you.
Especially me. Margaret, you're up next.
I just wanted to say bravo. I don't think any of us individually, except for maybe Ian, had any idea how many things that you actually have your hands in and how much work that you actually are doing. And fantastic, great presentation. It's always a pleasure, and you're appreciated. Thank you very much for all the work that you do. And I will be looking for my sign as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Margaret, and you're welcome.
And thanks to Susan too, one of our member artists for the Whitaker Community Art Team. Sorry, Susan, to call you out, but yeah, I think that your participation and volunteering is critical, right? Because we're doing this together, and Dubcat Whitaker Community Art Team for many years. Claire could tell you about the founding of the Whitaker Community Art Team and how they worked with the Whitaker Market early on when it was in the old parking lot that the WCC had leased. So it takes a village. And I know that Doriandra's work, bringing our volunteers together is pretty critical, because it's more than just the board, it's bringing in together a whole host of community volunteers. So with that, I'll move on to Gail and then Susan. Gail?
I just wanted to say, Doriandra, one of the things that I really have appreciated, I appreciate everything that you've done, full stop. And I love the fact that you dream so big, because what you do for us is you let us see through your efforts, what more we can do. We have the capacity to really make major structural foundational changes in our neighborhood that will make it a better place for all of us. And it starts with the things that you've begun, and it gives us a window into how much more we can do. So thank you for that. Thank you for your enthusiasm, and thank you for how brilliantly you've brought this all together, because it really does. It gives me a great deal of hope for what we can do in the future. So
Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, thanks so much, Gail. And I second Claire's appreciation for your patience, composure, and leadership. Susan wanted to give you a question as well. Go right on ahead.
It's not really a question. I just want to say that every time I come to a board meeting or a community meeting, I'm just blown away every time by what people are doing. I feel kind of tearful. It's so gorgeous. The amount of work that people are doing and what's being accomplished, just like, thank you. It's wonderful to behold. That's what I've got to say. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Susan. That means a lot, especially since, for those of you who didn't know, Susan's not only a member artist and community member, but a former board member of the Whitaker Community Council. They're among us. They're among us. So I just wanted to say thanks so much to all of our contractors for the work that they're doing. We've got some exciting proposals from the officers tonight, Delinia, Gail, Angie, and myself for consideration by the board. This is a situation where you don't have to leave. You can certainly stay if you'd like to, but none of us are going to be heartbroken if you decide to leave tonight and spend your time elsewhere. Up next is funding for the clinics. We're going to tag team this, Anand, myself, maybe Margaret as well. And we're going to have potential motions, discussion, and potential votes on grant allocations for our wellness clinics. So as you know, it would never be a board meeting talking about grant budgeting if I didn't show Tom Cruise yelling at the top of his lungs on a late 90s, early 2000s cell phone. I just wanted to shout out our 1000th vaccine on Sunday, and due in no small part to Doriandra. Can you imagine, folks, if you had told us in March when we did a single clinic with 500 people, if we would do, the impossible again and give not only our 1000th vaccine, but also our first 60 pediatric vaccines to kiddos in the neighborhood, and also 14 vaccines for people's first time getting the vaccine, which I think is huge too, that not only are we reaching so many people through boosters and secondary shots, but also folks ages 5 through 11, as well as folks who are choosing to get their vaccine for the first time. So tonight we have a big package of items up for consideration by the board, including $39,560 in clinic supplies, and here they are. So I wanted to be able to go line item by line item really quickly and then talk about potential motions. I will be passing it on to different board members to talk about certain things. The first, I'm going to be tag teaming with Margaret. This would be about an additional $3,000, but actually a reallocation of funds, which were previously during the September board meeting of this year, to go to water bottles, to go to thermoses. And so this funding, if we allocate it tonight, would have to be approved by the FEMA reimbursement team at Oregon Health Authority. But Margaret, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit as to why you and Angie are bringing this reallocation of the $12,000 to thermoses.
Sure, and I think if I remember correctly, and in speaking with Angie, I thought we had a long conversation about plastic and about plastic not being biodegradable and how it tends to get more thrown out with the garbage and things along those lines, and that we had discussed upgrading to thermoses then. I could have misunderstood what the meeting was, but I thought we already did this, but it's okay. So what we've done is a thermos. We got 500 thermoses that we gave to an organization that did a Thanksgiving dinner. They were great. They put hot coffee and soup in them. these thermoses that we're looking at now are a little bit of an upgrade. Number one, we won't have to put a sticker on them. They'll come like our water bottles did, and they'll already have a label on them. Inside is a small bottle of hand sanitizer that they can refill, as well as a mask, and they even come in a little carry bag. Now, for myself, I'm a daily coffee drinker, and I can't tell you how many times I go over to Cups and get a cup of coffee, and I always have to get the sleeve because it's too hot. So that's what this little sleeve does on the outside. It has a handle, they can carry it, put it in their bag. I don't have it in here, or I would be happy to show it to you, but the reason why we upgraded to thermoses was because in the winter it will be better. Last year, I believe we went back and looked, and we gave away like we spent like $30,000. We did close to 3,000 water bottles that we gave away to Egan, that we gave to Meals on Wheels, that we gave to Whitebird, HIV Alliance. Upgrading to the thermoses just makes a lot more sense in the winter.
Thanks so much, Margaret. And like I said, we'll need to get that expense approved by the FEMA team. They're a little persnickety about things, but as long as we have information for how to access our ongoing clinics to our unhoused community, I think that they're going to go for it. Additionally, this came from Doriandra, a request for an additional $6,000 for Pizzeria DOP, January through June of next year. For those of you who are unaware, Pizzeria DOP is our food truck that we have on site, which consistently provides food for our clinics for consumption on site. They ran out of pizza at our last clinic, so they're pretty much loved. Insurance, this is up to $5,000 for insurance, which would be a lot more than we're spending currently. But I have a conversation with our insurance provider that Delinea, I'll loop you into fairly soon about what our potential insurance liability will increase to, given the ongoing uncertainties of COVID. As you all can imagine, insurance is getting more and more expensive as the landscape of COVID keeps changing. N95 masks, the board originally approved $5,000 in September of this year. This would be an additional $5,000. We haven't bought any masks yet, but I imagine with the rise of the Omicron variant, it's going to be pretty expensive. The Eugene mission, this will be $3,500. And Doriandra, I'm wondering if you can explain a little bit about the allocation of $3,500 that we would give to the Eugene mission through an updated contract.
Certainly, they have been so gracious and didn't want to ask anything in rent from us. They were fine with doing $1 a month. And so Ian and I discussed it, and we approached them in a way of like, what kind of a donation would garner what kind of project for them. And the thing that Cheryl and I came up with was to create a better ADA ramp. If you've all worked at the clinic, those of you who have, you can see on the far right side, there's kind of a slightly dilapidated wooden ramp that would facilitate wheelchairs. And so this project would allow us to do a proper concrete ramp that leads up to the structure, and then that would be some slight reinforcement so that if we do have anybody with mobility challenges, they'd be able to access it very carefully and safely. So this bid represents about 500 in materials and 3,000 in labor.
And we have a quick question from Delinea, but Delinea, before before your question, we had a question from Gail in the chat regarding what's our plan to distribute these masks. We would be distributing them at a combination of our clinics, but also to members of our business community. Members of our business community have been clamoring for real N95 masks, not the KN95s you can buy on Amazon that are highly suspect. So it'll be, we'll delegate and defer to Doriandra's expertise, but we know that community members, both at our clinics and in our business community, have been asking for these. Delinea, right on to you.
With the ramp, is it something that we have to take with us, or is this going to be a donation for them? And I guess my other question is going to be, yeah, that's kind of just my question.
Sure, I can speak to that. Yeah, the building has a historical use of housing Occupy Medical and other volunteer medical uses. And so as we move more into it and expand our facilities, it's not something that we would take with us, but rather something that we would leave there as that we make something better that we use. So it's just an improvement of their facility, and it felt like a really ethical and kind way to reciprocate the freedom that they've given us there. I was able to move all of our clinic equipment out of the old community center, and so we have free storage and we have a lot of leeway to be able to serve our community. So it felt like a good gift and a way to look at the 6 months of space ahead of us now that we'll use it as kind of a good remuneration that will last them for the future.
Oh, yeah. I guess my question is like, maybe it might be an Ian question. Is that okay to use the FEMA money for that? And if not, what was the price on that again? Because then if maybe FEMA won't pay for it, we still have some funds that maybe we should still do it, I guess is my.
Yeah, FEMA will pay for it, but we're gonna, the money is going to be done through the contract for use of the space. So we just know that the mission is going to spend it on this, right? And so we wanted to be clear with the board. Contractually, it's going to be for use of the Eugene mission from January through June. We just know because of Doriandra's conversations with Cheryl, the executive director of the mission, that they're going to use this money for ADA compliance, for kind of a very unsexy but super necessary improvement that it's hard for them to fundraise for, right? You know, a big donor doesn't want to spend, you know, more than $3,000 on a ramp, which, hey, if I ever become breaded, I'll be, you know, building ramps everywhere, I guess. But yeah, that's a great question. And thanks for always thinking of grant compliance, Delinia. You have my heart. We certainly don't want to slow our roll. And Anand, do you mind if we tap on you next for the health law attorney piece?
Absolutely. Okay, so this has to do with our ability to do our own COVID testing at the site. In order to be able to do that, you probably have heard the term CLIA certificate before. We had one for the previous site. To get one for the new site over by the mission, we have to have somebody say that they are the quote owner of the space. And that doesn't have to be a literal, it just has to be somebody who's responsible for the area. And the person that most fits that bill is Cheryl from the mission. So I had sent her an email saying that we would like to talk with her about the ability of getting her to sign on for that, and sent her a copy of the application for the certificate. And this was her response. I reviewed the form and was uncomfortable with the owner certification language. I am burdened by having practiced law for 28 years and would be held in high standard regarding compliance with the Public Health Service Act. I contacted Dr. Patrick Ludke, Lane County Senior Health Officer, to discuss how we might be able to make this work. He expressed compliance concern. The Eugene mission is regretfully not in a position to engage, and this is the key part, health law attorneys to determine the compliance, and our board would not authorize me to certify under the circumstances. So the health law attorney of $3,000, which we may not need to spend at all, or maybe not that much, would be to deal with that particular issue. You might also like to know that I sent her a response to that, which included also emailing Dr. Ludke, who sent back a response saying to me, Anand, many thanks for your clarity. I am fine with you serving as the lab director outside your county nursing position. So I'm not quite sure what concern Cheryl thought Dr. Ludke was saying, but once I clarified it, he didn't seem to have any issues with it. So that's what the health law attorney fee might be for if it turns out we need that. We will, if it's approved, we will be able to go to Cheryl and say, we can address this issue for you if this is something you think will help. So that's how that goes. Any questions?
Thanks so much, Anand. Does anyone have a question for Anand?
Looks like Jennifer's got something.
Jen, go right on ahead.
Thank you. It's not a question. I just want to say thank you, Arnott, for doing this.
Hey, we all do what we can. I'm just in a good position.
Well, you're being modest. Thanks so much, because I've been watching the email chain, and yeah, it's not nothing. So thank you for doing this, offering to do this.
It's a thing.
Yeah, totally. I really appreciate you, and I know that the rest of the board does too. Quick pivot to the last two things, and then we'll have time for motions and a vote. For pop-up tents. So the WCC has purchased 2 pop-up tents, and this, I believe, was during our November meeting. Unfortunately, Margaret's pop-up tent, her personal pop-up tent, was damaged. So we're still going to use that pop-up tent. I'm going to buy Margaret another pop-up tent and probably threaten her with dinner or drinks. But this is just a good reminder as we transition to a different stage of our organization where we don't use our personal items anymore. And that's only possible by procuring items for the organization. Because unfortunately, with our grant agreements, we can't use the money to purchase anything for personal use. And so these additional 4 pop-up tents will keep community members socially distant and out of the rain, but also might serve for potential partnerships with organizations like the Whitaker Community Market, where we can lend them to different organizations if they don't break them or if they agree to replace them later on. So that's 4 pop-up tents for $1,500, and it could be substantially less than that as well. And then last, but certainly not least, is for our ongoing partnership with Eugene Bleeds, which is oh my goodness, mutual aid organization based out of the Whitaker that for people with periods, and provides free menstrual supplies, which is in line with the Whitaker Community Council's vision of providing co-located services during our wellness clinics. And Margaret, I see your hand up, so feel free to jump right on in, and I'll make sure to save time for yeah. Actually, what I'd like to do first is make a motion that we approve the $39,560 for clinic supplies, and then it'll be open for a second if there is one. And we've got a second from Gail. Great, thanks so much, Gail. And for those of you watching, as a nonprofit organization and as a neighborhood association, we follow a procedure where someone will make a motion to the board and there can be a second. Folks can make amendments to it during the discussion phase, which we are right now. And I see 2 folks who want to jump in for discussion. I saw Margaret's hand up first and then Jen's hand up second. Margaret, go right on ahead.
So I just want to clarify a couple of things about the N95 masks. So we're looking for an additional $5,000, which would be a total of $10,000. Is that correct? Is that what I heard you say?
That's correct.
Okay. And we are using these to use in our clinics and giving away to local businesses for, say, their employees and whatnot. Are these to give away for public use?
For public or for private use, but we're focusing in on Whitaker businesses because this is where we've been hearing the pain points, similar to the cost, the burden of having hand sanitizer stations and procuring hand sanitizer. There's been another burden. We never thought the pandemic would last this long, right? We initially thought we would get our vaccine and we'd be able to take our masks off. Now that that's not the case, some business owners and then private folks have been asking where can they get masks that we know are super effective at preventing any airborne viruses, and N95s consistently are the ones that rank the highest.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with N95s and how much they cost and their availability and all of that. And I was just simply asking because they are a disposable item. When you go into the pharmacy, the grocery store, a lot of places like that, you'll see that the employees are wearing N95 masks because they're exposed to so many other people. However, giving away thousands of dollars worth of N95 masks to someone who is going to end up in the gutter in 10 minutes. I'm wonder if that, I'm not quite sure how to approach my question.
Sure, I think this is a good question. I see Delinia's hand up.
Yeah, and I think it's great to give them to businesses. I think that locally, a lot of people can use them. They are going to be they are the most effective means that we have right now. I just wanted a little more clarification about what we really were going to do with them.
So for me, like at the dispensary, we get the, you know, N99 ones for us, but for the customers, they're spending a lot of money on the disposable ones because customers come in and, like Margaret said, they cost a lot of money. Even like I know the N99 ones are the ones that are approved, but for the businesses to give them away, Margaret's right, they're going to be in the sewer.
Yeah, and N95 masks are approved. And
Yeah.
I mean, I right now, I know that that there's some N95 masks that are available for under $2 each. But understand that's still expensive because 2 years ago, those things were a quarter. They were 30 cents. Now they're, you know, maybe you can get them for $1.50, $1.75, depending on what kind that you want to go with. I'm just curious what we're talking about doing with them. I'll be quiet.
No, you don't. You certainly don't have to be quiet. And I think what I'm hearing from you is that we should prioritize businesses primarily as the users of these, but also have some of them on deck for our clinics. So if we gave, 200 away per clinic, but gave several hundred, if the split was, 1 mask to every person at our clinic versus the 7 that we were giving away to a business. I think that it sounds like you'd be more comfortable with that versus focusing on giving more of them away at our clinics. Is that closer to what you're talking about, Margaret?
No, I would be comfortable with giving them to the people that worked at the clinic. I don't know. I mean, and one thing that, and I don't know if you remember this or not, and I think it's pretty true, and maybe I'm mistaken, but we vaccinated 100 people on Sunday, and I think that was our 2nd largest day ever. So great job, everybody, on that. But I mean, everybody comes in and they have a mask on. It's a lot of money for something that they may never even use.
Fair enough. And I think that
prioritizing it is a great idea, and we should have some.
Great. Yeah. Well, thanks for that feedback. And I hope that once we procure them, we can give them out in the way that they're used the most efficiently. And I think we should not just do that for masks, but pretty much any COVID resource we have for the community. Gail, thanks for being patient. I've seen your hand up as well. Gail? I'm so sorry, Gail. I meant Jen. Jen, I apologize. You've been waiting a very long time. You're on deck. You're next.
No, thank you. I think that, is it possible to get N95s and other masks that are not so costly to give out to people that do a decent barrier? And I know that N95s, you can reuse them depending on what your environment is, because I had to wear N95s all the time during my metalsmith days. And I can only, when I worked on one particular type of job all day, I couldn't reuse it for the next day. So there is a limit to them. I think that nurses were stuck because they were forced to reuse their N95s in the beginning of the COVID meltdown. And so why can't we get 2 different types of masks? Because those people that are constantly dealing with the public have more of a, I don't know what the right word is, but the issue on a regular basis, where people that are using it 1 time or 2, it's not the same.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jen, and I can sense a friendly amendment coming. It looks like we have Andrew's hand up, then Delinia's, and then Margaret's, and then we'll need to move on to our next item tonight. Andrew?
If someone wants to make an amendment, they can do that. I'm going to move to approve the budget as presented. But if anyone wants to make a friendly amendment to do that, I think the budget looks great. So motion to approve the budget.
Okay, Andrew made a motion, so he's calling a question right now. Does anyone have a friendly amendment to the N95 mask budget? It looks like Jen does. Jen?
I don't know how to do an amendment, but I asked our vote that we split into two different types of masks. And they're gonna cost a lot less, so maybe, you know, $700 or $1,000 for ones that you can give to people to come around once, you know, for their shots. And then for those who are in stores and facilities like that, the N95.
Okay, looks like we've got a friendly amendment from Gail for $1,000 instead of $5,000. Sorry, we've got a lot of people moving their hands back and forth. So Gail, you had your hand up next, and then Margaret, you had your hand up as well.
Technically, Delinia had her hand up first, but I want to observe that she put into the chat that we have many boxes of blue surgical masks to give away at our clinics. We don't need to buy more surgical masks. There's no need to divide this into two different kinds of masks based on Doriandra's assessment of our current stock. And yeah, my suggestions are mostly around: do we need a new art campaign that tells people how to safely reuse N95s so that they don't treat them like disposables, because they aren't technically disposable. That was my suggestion.
Okay, so we haven't had a second to the amendment yet. Delinia, you had your hand up, then Margaret, then Andrew. Delinia?
So finding out that they have those disposable masks and so many, can we get those to the businesses so they can give away, you know, because those are the types of people who come in, they're coming from out of state, or they don't know they're supposed to wear a mask. Can we use the, you know, disposable ones to give to the businesses, but still get the N99s to give away at the clinics?
That sounds like a pretty elegant solution to me, and then I'll defer to Doriandra. Margaret, and then Andrew, and then we have to move for the vote. Margaret? I am so sorry, Margaret. I accidentally tried to mute myself.
It's okay, I've been being quiet, so you haven't heard me, even though I've not been muted. I just wanted to confirm, yes, that we do have many masks. I actually went and picked them up. The city gave them away. We have masks and vinyl gloves that, I mean, we have more than enough to give away at the clinics if someone comes in and doesn't have a mask on. And I assure you that every business in town can get the 3-ply masks that we're discussing, and they all have them. That's not something that's hard to get. And I would argue nicely the point. I sell them every day. N95 masks are a disposable paper item. It is not meant to be reused. You can, but it is meant to be disposable. If you just go to the 3M site and read what it says, it'll tell you. And some of them are also sterile. So depending on what kind that we're looking at, if they are sterile, then they also have an expiration date. So we need to keep that into consideration. But I just would like to see us use them wisely. That's all.
Thanks so much, Margaret. Andrew, you're up next. It looks like there hasn't been an amendment to your call to question.
Can I withdraw my friendly amendment?
You certainly can, Jen.
Okay.
Andrew?
If this makes, can I get a thumbs up, Doriandra? Is Doriandra in charge of all these masks and like distributing them? Is that an accurate statement? Maybe I'll make a friendly amendment to my original proposal then, that we authorize up to $5,000 for the purposes of buying masks, and that we allow Doriandra to buy whatever types of masks our community needs at the moment, giving her flexibility to do that.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Thanks for saving us from ourselves, Andrew. And we've got a second from Thea. Okay, great. So we're calling to question now. I apologize if folks have other items, but I'd like to call to question the vote for $39,560 for clinic supplies, including the thermoses. Actually, I'll just show the screen. It's going to be a lot easier than hearing my voice. And with the amendment from Andrew for the 5,000 masks as best spent by Doriandra with respect to our community's needs. So all those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please raise your hand or say no. And then any of those who are abstaining? All right, seeing none, the motion passes. And thank you so much to everyone who contributed to that conversation. Super important, us being able to go through this and talk about stuff. And hats off to Jen for her first amendment. That was awesome, virtual high five. I think it's important for us to understand how to be able to do the parliamentary stuff just as much as anything else. And thanks so much, Andrew, for making sure that we used our time in the best way. So next is something exciting that the officers have been chatting about. So unfortunately, Angie's not here tonight, except in spirit. Delinia, Gail, and myself talked about something that we're here to talk about tonight, which is building off of our conversation in October. So you might see these graphics. They might remind you of our board meeting in October. Here's our current contracting structure. Currently, the WCC program coordinator, whose responsibility is for public health and safety, as well as our art projects. Often they're interrelated, like the signs that Dorian just showed, is managed by myself, the WCC chair. If I moved to Liechtenstein, it would be Gail as the vice chair. Then in turn reporting to the board of directors, who reports to all of our bosses, the members of the Whitaker community. Our proposed staffing structure that we wanted to talk about tonight and bring a motion for a hiring committee is for not one, but two program coordinators. And these would be employed positions, full-time positions for the community council that then in turn would report to a program director. So both the program director and the program coordinator positions would be funded by our Oregon Housing and Community Services grant. And I've got a really exciting update about that in just a little bit. But basically the program coordinator for our housing work would help any and all Whitaker residents who are at danger of losing their housing, who are renting and who, because of COVID, are at risk of losing their housing or need to pay utilities or need to pay rent. This program coordinator would be soup to nuts. So if I was in danger of losing my house, I'm a renter here at 5th and Almaden, I would reach out to the community council through our website or through Facebook and get in touch with this person. And this person would help me make sure that I don't lose my rent, and would also connect me with Oregon's Emergency Rental Assistance Program to make sure that they have funding and that they have an application to do that. We know that our community has some great landlords as well. Let's say that Dan or Thea had a tenant that was in danger of being evicted because they lost their job. They as landlords could reach out to the program coordinator and make sure that they could receive future rent as well as utility payments and things like that. So it works both ways. We know we have good tenants and we know that we have good landlords. I'm excited to say that we have the funding for these positions. We have $235,000 that will go until December 30th, 2023. And then also yesterday, our legislature just passed another $100 million to go to emergency rental assistance. So that money was gone. We didn't have any left. And the legislature said, hey, we have a budget surplus and this is really important. So they voted to increase the amount of emergency rental assistance and extended the eviction moratorium. So folks can't be evicted. We were really worried about a wave of folks having to live on the streets, and that's not the case. The program director would replace the work that I'm currently doing, writing grants, administering grants, writing grant reports, managing staff people, and then managing contractors. All of that would be taken by the new program director position. And so the program director would report directly to the WCC board, come to our board meetings, make reports just like the ones we saw earlier today from our amazing contractors, and would update the board, and we could have kind of a back and forth, much in the same way that nonprofits do. We'd still be a community council, we'd still be a neighborhood association, but this structure would really resemble nonprofit organizations. And kudos to Anand for the suggestion of program director versus executive director. While the title is different, the job's much the same. And then the board still is accountable to Whitaker community members. So how we get there? How we get there is that we need a hiring committee for both of these positions, much in the same way that we had a hiring committee for Doriandra's position. The program director reports directly to the board, has authority to write grants, set grant budgets, communicate on behalf of the org to organizations that we partner with, and hire staff. The program coordinator reports directly to the program director on housing issues, directly serving the community, like I said, and the board still sets strategic direction as the voice of the community and connects with community through general and board meetings, as well as other volunteer work. And so I'll pass this on to Delinia and Gail to be able to talk about more too. The motion tonight from Angie, Delinia, Gail, and myself is that these 5 board members would be given a seat on the hiring committee. That's Claire, Dan, Margaret, myself, and Thea, with Doriandra being offered an opportunity to serve as a non-voting member of the hiring committee if she chooses. She can always pass on that. But this is kind of the scope that we've talked about. Kind of last, and I know that this is a lot. Basically, we're also suggesting that we offer Doriandra a paid position to become our first employee starting next year, and our attorneys are going to help us with that, the transition to employees instead of contractors, making sure that we have an employee handbook and all the HR stuff set aside. And kudos to Drea and to Delinia, who've already set up our QuickBooks that can act as our payroll. Those would be 3 positions, and the hiring committee would get to work on all 3 of them. So we would need to create the position descriptions for both of the program coordinator positions, as well as the program director. So Andrew, I see your hand up, and I know that this is a lot. I can walk through some other stuff as well, but I wanted to open it up for conversation as well as a motion tonight. So Andrew, I see your hand up first.
I just want to say, wow, like this is a huge deal, like a really huge deal. And I'm really proud of the group, and I want to say thank you to everyone who's put time into this and getting to make this possible, because now we're like a real nonprofit, not just a bunch of people who have a nonprofit and volunteer in their community. So thank you, Ian, and the many other people who've made this possible. And I can't support it enough. I'm not going to cut the discussion off by making a motion right now, but I will later if we can't get there. So thank you. And I think that we should all be really supportive, because this is a huge deal for us to get employees and to have someone actually like running our nonprofit. So thank you for making this happen.
Thanks so much, Andrew. And I want to state pretty explicitly that this does not diminish our capacity as board members to do the volunteer work that we love, although staff members will be doing some of the work that honestly we should not do, right? Like, I think what I'm trying to say is that we shouldn't have to do work as board members because we're volunteers to make the organization run and be successful. We should do volunteer work because we love to do it. Right. So that doesn't preclude us from being volunteers and doing work on top of our commitments as board members. But what it will do is make us more successful and be able to serve our members, the folks who aren't here tonight, in an even better and bigger way. So Jen, I saw your hand up next, and I'll open it up for a little bit more discussion before we have a chance to hear from Delinia and Gail about the conversation that we had regarding the hiring committee. Jen?
Thank you. That is exciting. That's drama of a good kind. So I'd like to know when you plan on hiring this new director.
So tonight we're not talking about anything more than having folks from the hiring committee come together. But the kind of plan that we laid out during the officers meeting, we had a very chilly officers meeting at a picnic table. Everyone had a propane torch but me, was that we would convene the hiring committee between now and our next board meeting in January. Then we would bring position descriptions to the board for consideration and a vote. That would be for Doriandra's position. That would be for the housing program coordinator and for the program director. And that would include salary and benefits that would be parallel to what folks are receiving in the Eugene Springfield area for levels of experience and parallel positions for other nonprofits in Eugene. Then after that, we would post the position much in the same way we did for the program coordinator position previously, that Doriandra is now occupying, and that would go from January until February. From February until March, we would do interviews, and then for our March board meeting, the hiring committee would make recommendations to the board for deliberations and a vote, kind of in the same way that we did for Doriandra's position too. But again, all this is tentative right now, subject to what I hope is, a lot of deliberation and discussion by the hiring committee on process and how we should move forward.
Thank you.
Yep. Delinia, Gail, did y'all want to share anything more kind of from your perspective or the conversation, the cold evening conversation we had?
I just want to say I'm really excited for this new change. And the only reason that I didn't volunteer to sit on this hiring committee, other than that I wanted to make space for plenty of folks to get involved, is because I'm busy trying to create our continuity binders, which will be every board member's treasured binder of all the things that you would ever want to know about the Whitaker Community Council. That will become a document that we can hand on in perpetuity. So that does not mean that I'm not interested in this process, and I'm happy to provide any help, support, feedback, or input that anybody's looking for in the meantime. But I think Ian has done a fantastic job at finding the financial wherewithal to be able to do this. So let's do it. Let's become employers. How exciting.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that in the last meeting that we had with the city council, well, with the people who came from the city, the one thing that I noticed was, like, we're bringing all these people from the city into our neighborhood to discuss things. They shrug their shoulders and they walk away. Then Ian is our representative who goes to the city council meetings, but he's almost sitting out there alone. I like this because it gives the opportunity for any board member to go with him so he can represent us, or the chair, whoever it may be next year. But so board members can go and say, this is not just one person, this is an entire board. It's going to give us the freedom as a board to implement all the ideas that the neighborhood has and hold the city accountable, finally. I think that's our biggest problem, is that we're bringing them to us and we need to take it to them.
Yeah,
that's all.
Thanks for that, Delinia. And I just want to dovetail on to, yeah, I'm not going to change the city of Eugene, but we can change the city of Eugene, truly. So I feel that very much. Also, two more things. Thea's laughing. Thea actually can change the city of Eugene by herself, but not all of us are Thea. So I just want to say that two things really quick. If you aren't on the hiring committee list, it's not because we didn't consider you. We just know that we all have commitments right now, and we wanted a makeup of past hiring committee members and folks who haven't been on there that we feel could add real capacity, and they're not on other projects. And two, we want to make sure that we honor Doriandra's experience, her contributions, and everything that she's brought to the organization thus far. So we shouldn't be surprised if the hiring committee offers a higher salary to Doriandra versus the new program coordinator. And that should be a conversation, a dynamic one, where Doriandra and the board are negotiating a salary which is competitive, in line with market rates, and also that can be sustainable given our funding mechanisms for the positions. I see Andrew's hand, and then I want to make a motion. Andrew?
Yeah, just I guess a question on the structure. The way that I'm most familiar with, and the way I thought your graphic indicated, was that the well, I guess the typical setup I've seen, right, is that the board has an employee, which is in our case the program director. Sometimes it's called an executive director, and actually, I guess what I was alluding to is actually that I think if we have a program director And if Doriandra is not the program director, then the program director is the one that should be having discussions with Doriandra about the salary. I just want to make sure I'm clarifying, right? Right. I work at LTD. We have a board of directors. I work for the general manager, not the board of directors. The general manager is the only employee of the board of directors. So maybe I'm confused about what you were saying. I'm totally fine with the program director negotiating to give Doriandra everything that she deserves and more. I just want to make it clear, I guess, or clarify for myself that that's the structure that we're talking about.
Yeah, great question. That is the structure we're talking about. And also we'd be hiring Doriandra before the program director. So this would be, yeah, so you're totally right. And we would also hire Doriandra before then. So yeah, we would do, things would be a little bit different for Doriandra because she's our first employee and because her contributions have been so numerous. But yes, you're totally right with respect to the structure moving forward after hiring the program director. Gail, I saw your hand up and then I still want to make the motion. I know that Jen and Delinia are chomping at the bit to give us an update for the ad hoc committee.
I'm excited to hear that update, so I'll be brief. I just want to clarify, we are choosing as a board to hire all 3 of these positions simultaneously. Is there a plan in the future for these hiring decisions to be the responsibility of the program coordinator, obviously with communication with the board, or is this how we're going to do hiring moving forward? Because I feel like this might be a special circumstance, and if that's the case, let's make that clear that in the future, part of the reason we're hiring people is so that we don't always have to be hiring people. That it can be their job to hire other people.
Yep. So
right?
This is, yes, that's exactly right. So this is a special case, and Delinia, I see your hand up too, of how we would bring on 3 people, bringing on Doriandra first and then the program director. The program director would have the capacity to hire staff working for them in the way that Andrew said, but we as the board would have the capacity to fire the program director, right? And so there's a series of checks and balances that exist pretty much in every organization, whether you're a public organization, like Andrew said, for LTD, or nonprofits too. So it's checks and balances. Delinia, I saw your hand up and I wanted to make that motion and check with the people that we've suggested, Dan, Thea, Margaret, and Claire, if you have time to be on the hiring committee, because it's a time commitment. Delinia?
And just to let everybody know, I also talked to Drea about transitioning into the, from contractors to employment. I do want you guys to be aware that in QuickBooks, it's going to cost a little bit more money for a payroll system, but we can discuss that further later on. And then, yeah, that's about all.
Thanks, Delinia. Jen, I see your hand up for a quick question. I don't want to steal time away from you later to talk about the charter. So yeah, feel free to go ahead.
Thank you. In the future, do you see that we will, I can't help but think this, that we will be needing a bookkeeper, to hire a bookkeeper?
So Delinia, I was just going to basically say the email that you sent to us, but I feel like you'd say it better. Go ahead.
At this point, a bookkeeper is not going to be good enough for the organization. It is right now. And Jen, this is something I was going to pop on you now too. We also need to, it's a conversation that I would rather Drea have with everyone or with the officers first, so we understand that there are certain things that we need to meet before we can take on employees. But nothing that we cannot overcome. It's very simple. But a bookkeeper would definitely not. A lot of organization nonprofits try to go, the cheap with a bookkeeper and end up getting themselves in trouble later on.
So with that, I wanted to, ask Claire, Dan, Margaret, and Thea if y'all wanted to serve on the hiring committee before I made a motion. Claire, you asked a great question. Is there any idea of what the time commitments would look like, X hours a month, etc.? So initially for this first month, we would work on 3 job descriptions. We already have one from Doriandra previously that we would need to update. I would update the housing. We would basically create a separate one for the housing position, and then the program director position as well. We're not reinventing the wheel here, because other organizations use very similar templates. And again, we would be using their templates for the position descriptions, but we'd be doing it in consultation with Doriandra for her position that's focused on art and public health and safety. And then we would reach out to other housing organizations like Homes for Good or the Springfield Eugene Tenants Association to work on theirs. And then we would hit up like HIV Alliance, who's been super generous before, or Cheryl from the Eugene Mission on the program director position. So initially for this next month, it might be a single meeting and work via email. So maybe like 5 to 10 hours. And then for the interviews, that could be more. So that might be like 10 hours of interviews and then 5 hours total of doing scoring and things like that. And that would be from February to March. So maybe total 20 to 30 hours. And Thea's laughing. Margaret, go ahead.
So I just wanted, are we looking at offering benefits?
Yeah, I've budgeted for that, and that's something that the hiring committee should make a recommendation to the board. You know, not just the position descriptions, but also the salary ranges and the benefit options that we have to offer.
Okay. And yes, I would love to serve on the hiring committee, and I have nothing but time.
Cool.
I am Ian, despite laughing.
Sweet. Dan, Claire, did Claire leave? Oh, she's coming back. I thought she bailed. Thumbs up from Dan. Super lucky to have you. Thanks so much for your time, Dan. I know that you're going to bring a lot of like professional expertise, but also your time in the Whitaker as well. Claire, I thought you bailed because the prospect spooked you of being on the hiring committee.
No.
Cool.
And Claire, it does require a little bit of time and commitment.
That's never stopped me before. I'm in. I'll do it.
Yeah, I had no doubt when they said your name. I said, yeah, I know she's going to be great.
Sweet.
I'll do it. For sure.
So with that, I'd like to make a motion for the hiring committee to come together of Claire, Dan, Margaret, myself, and Thea, with an option for Doriandra to join as a non-voting member, to bring back to the board on our next board meeting, January the 19th, 3 position descriptions with associated salary and benefit ranges for consideration by the board. And we've got a second from Gail, so we're in discussion right now. Delinia, did you have a comment, question, or was that a hand up for a vote? A second. Okay, great. So we've got a motion from me and a second from Gail and Delinia. We'll do the ayes first. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Thanks so much. And it looks like it's unanimous. So thanks so much to everyone. I'll be in touch to the hiring committee about next steps. Really looking forward to this. Also, the holidays are off. So I'm not gonna, like, once we get to a place, I'm not gonna bug you on December 22nd through 26th pretty much. So I hope you all enjoy some great time with family. And with that, I will pass it along to Delinia and Jen, who are our ad hoc charter committee. For those of y'all who are watching online, our charter is the blueprint which guides the organization, both past and present. And we've been lucky enough to have Delinia and Jen leading our ad hoc charter committee, so we can have some vision and guidance on what the future of our charter might look like. Jen, Delinia?
Okay, so first of all, let me apologize to everybody because we did have some technical issues at first and a little bit of technology hiccups. Jen and I are in the midst of just creating our explanations for stuff. We're pretty much almost done. We've got a couple more. We're at Article 7, and I believe there's 14, 15 articles. We found some hiccups in the giddy up, but we should be done by next week. to hand it over to Andrew so he can do the conversion for us. And then I guess my next question was, it's going to Ian, right? And then it goes to the attorney before the board. And I wanted Ian to explain why it goes to the attorney first.
Yeah, so I'm just pulling up my notes really quick. And if you could sing a cowboy love song for us really quick while I pull up my notes, I'd really appreciate it, buddy. So I'm just pulling up the officer notes really quick so I can be a little bit more capable to answer your question.
Established our order. And the order, I think it's once we're finished with our piece, Andrew's going to convert it for us. It goes to Ian, and then it goes to the attorney before the board meets on that. So we make sure that, you know, there's not something that we're voting on that we have to change anyway. And then Gail gave us a really great idea. I was explaining that there's certain city model requirements, and then there's guidelines for the 5013. And she just said, put a star, like this is a requirement from whoever it is, a requirement from. And I'm gonna let Jen answer questions.
Okay, thank you, Delania. I'm hoping that Andrew will send it back to us before we pass it on to Ian to see what your comparison chart looks like.
I can certainly do that, Jen, but the document that you sent to me when we were going back and forth before, I'm pretty sure you've got it. If you want, I will double check to make sure it's correct, but you figured it out on your own, actually.
Yeah, I did. But we said we're going to send it to you, and that's what we're going to do.
Sure.
And this particular revision, by the way, we have 14 articles and 62 sections, which on the current charter, there are 12 articles and there's 39 sections. So we have expanded quite a bit. And I have used the inputs that recommendations and that the attorney's office made on your version, Ian, so that that expanded quite a bit the sections. And I have to learn more. Everybody has to learn. I think that should be a requirement that you memorize the charter if you want to serve on the.
I resign immediately.
It will be in your continuity binder so that you can reference it as soon as I make them, but I'm not memorizing anything.
Anyway, so pretty much as I understand it, is going to go to Andrew, and then we will look at it, Delania and myself, and then pass it over to Ian, and then Ian will set it up for the attorney, and then we may get some feedback from the attorney's office, and we'll have to address those if they come up. And then I think we will be good to go in sending it to HRNI to look at it, and we should hopefully pass with flying colors. And then HRNI will send it to the city attorney and then to the city council, and we will get that stamp of approval.
And our plan is to have it ready for the January. We're hoping to have it ready this week, so everything gets sent out and back to the board by the February meeting, our board meeting, or our February board meeting. So we could send it to the general meeting for vote in the beginning of March, I believe.
Yep, it's a pretty aggressive timeline, but I think we can do it. We've got a hand up from Andrew, and I just wanted to say that the sooner it's sent to me, the sooner I can send it off to both attorneys, both our legal counsel, the Center for Nonprofit Law, but also HRNI with the city attorney, because the sooner we can get it off to them, the sooner we can get critical feedback that we can review as a board. I don't think our attorney is going to have almost any feedback based on the work that y'all have already done. They may have some feedback from what the city attorney has, but basically what the city attorney says kind of has to go, right? Because our relationship with the city is a pretty critical one. So yeah, the sooner we can get it off to me, the sooner I can push it to our attorneys. And I spoke with the HRNI office, and they know that you, Jen, and you, Delinia, are working on it, and that they're gonna be getting, that I'm gonna be sending them our draft charter for their review in a little bit. Do we need more votes before 9? No, Anand. If you need bedtime, you're good to go. Appreciate you, man. Andrew, you had a comment.
Yeah, just on the timeline. I've been working since 7:30, so sorry if I'm not remembering when everything happens exactly. Will this impact the election of the board and officers the next time we do that? I'm just wondering, like, our timeline, because I'm just curious how this impacts kind of some things coming up. Like what's with the aggressive timeline? Do we have to be on that? I'm just curious.
We are trying to have the charter in place before the next election.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
And if Jen is comfortable with converting it, then we don't, I guess, need to have it, you review it if you want. That's totally up to you.
I'm happy to just, if we want to double check that that you guys trust me more than you trust yourself or whatever, that really happy to do it. Just send it to me. I promise I'll turn it around in 24 hours or less.
Okay,
Okay, that sounds really good. And it's called a comparison, right? Mhm. Okay. And let's see, there was something else, but I can't, it's slipped my mind. Also, the elections had a lot to do with it, with our getting it done under a certain time frame, because of the changes that will be made and hopefully approved by everybody. And so it'll affect the voting, the elections, the nominations. And you'll see it when it'll become clearer. And that's about it. We're going to be working at it very hard this next week.
Are there any questions?
This is one
Is
of those.
anybody-
Sorry, go ahead.
Is anybody excited?
Great job, you guys. Thank you for all of your hard work. And I know there's been lots of it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And guess what? It's 9 o'clock. Wow.
Okay.
Magic happens every day, folks. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
Especially me. Well, I just wanted to say thank you, Bam, so much for wearing your Santa hats, for bringing your energy and passion to our community and to this meeting. Yeah, special thanks to the contractors who are still here, who stuck it out for the rest of our meeting, to those of y'all who are on our ad hoc charter committee, and to those who have volunteered for our new steering hiring committee. Really appreciate y'all so much. Hope you have a happy holiday. Santa has deputized me, and I might be reaching out to you individually to give something to you on his behalf. So just wanted to say happy holidays to everyone, and hope you have a great time resting with your cats and with your other non-cat loved ones. All right, bye everyone. Have a great night.